Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is a quick video that I'm going to do about the books that I am nervous or intimidated to read. Now, the first book is The House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. It's a chunker, and it's like the size of like a dictionary or something. Years ago, when House of Leaves was first being passed around, it was nothing more than a badly bundled heap of paper, parts of which would occasionally surface on the internet. No one could have anticipated the small but devoted following this terrifying story would soon command, starting with an odd assortment of marginalized youth, musicians, tattoo artists, programmers, strippers, environmentalists, and adrenaline junkies. The book eventually made its way into the hands of older generations who not only found themselves in those strangely arranged pages, but also discovered a way back into the lives of their estranged children. Now, for the first time, this novel has been made available in book form, complete with original colored words, vertical footnotes, and newly added second and third appendices. The story remains unchanged, focused on a young family that moves to a small home on Ash Street Lane, where they discover something terribly wrong. Their house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Of course, neither Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Will Davidson or his companion Karen Green was prepared to face the consequences of that impossibility. Until the day their two little children wandered off and their voices eerily began to return, another story of creature darkness, of an ever-growing abyss behind a closet door, and of that unholy growl which soon enough would tear through their walls and consume all their dreams. And this is a very like I don't know if you can see, but there's like weird formatting, and let's see, I've watched a lot of people on on YouTube or BookTube talk about strategies on how to read the book, and I'm just like, I need a strategy to read this. There's literally two words. So some people hate it. I mean, and it's like people either hate the book or they love it and it's the best book of all time. I watched Books and Lala's Literally Dead Book Club's live show on this book, and there were four girls. One woman couldn't finish it because it triggered her dyslexia. One woman hated it. One woman seemed kind of neutral on it, but her strategy was to read the book through once, but she kept tabs on the other story that was going on side by side with this, and then she went back and read it again, just reading where she was tabbed. And then Kayla herself she read it through twice, where she read one, she did basically the same thing that the other woman did, but just without tabbing it and stuff. And when I went in and I looked up, I was looking for that live stream, other suggestions came up, and there were people saying stuff like, I read this book so you wouldn't have to, or here are strategies on how to read the book. And I'm just like, what am I getting myself into here? So this is a book that I am intimidated by, afraid of, but it was on sale, so I got it, and I will tackle it. Now, the next book that I am a little nervous about reading is Anna Karenina. I'm going to read that this winter. It's almost 1,000 pages. It's a translated work. It's about Russians, and I haven't read anything like that. I haven't read, 1,000 pages. If you're a Stephen King fan, you've read 1,000 pages of something. That's not the problem. But the idea that I'm reading a translated work from a part of the world that I haven't watched a movie from or read a book from, or has been particularly interested in beyond political stuff, is daunting to me. And so I hope to enjoy it. I hope to not give up. I really hope to complete the project, just complete reading the book, whether I like it or not. I want to start expanding what I read, because I really do realize I just read like American, British, and Australian books with a couple of African books thrown in. The next book that I wouldn't say intimidated, wouldn't say scared, I'm hesitant to read. I think this one's more hesitant, is The Prophets. This book is written by Robert Jones Jr. And let me read the description to you. Isaiah was Samuel's, and Samuel's was Isaiah. That was the way it was since the beginning, and the way it was to be until the end. In the barn, they tended to animals, but also to each other, transforming the hollowed-out shed into a place of human refuge, a source of intimacy and hope in a world ruled by vicious masters. When an older man, a fellow slave, seeks to gain favor by preaching the master's gospel on the plantation, the enslaved began to turn on their own. Isaiah and Samuel's love, which was once so simple, is seen as sinful and a clear danger to the plantation's harmony. I feel like I need to read this book to support this person that I followed for a long time. He wrote a blog, and I follow him on Facebook and Twitter and everything. He talked a lot about race and sexuality, and I followed him for years and years and years, but he was known as son of Baldwin. And when I realized that this person was son of Baldwin, I was like, oh, I have to read it. When I read the synopsis of it, I don't want to read more devastating slave narratives. This one is going to be from a different point of view, obviously, because I haven't read too many where there's a loving homosexual couple. But I am reading difficult books as projects already this year, reading about the prison industrial complex, and doing my Toni Morrison series, and then eventually I'll be reading James Baldwin. So I'm already dealing with a lot of heavy stuff, and then also just slave stuff is just difficult because our ancestors went through a lot. Now this next book is probably the weirdest book that I am a little intimidated to read. It's called Perdido Street Station. My second born said that I should read this, and when they described it to me, they were saying it's steampunk, horror, futuristic, and I'm just like, what? Beneath the towering bleached ribs of a dead ancient beast lies the city of New Crobuzon, where the unsavory deal is stranger to no one, not even to Isaac, a gifted and eccentric scientist who has spent a lifetime quietly carrying out his unique research. But when a half-bird, half-human creature known as the Garuda comes to him from afar, Isaac is faced with challenges he has never before encountered. Though the Garuda's request is scientifically daunting, Isaac is sparked by his own curiosity and uncanny reverence for this curious stranger. Soon, an eerie metamorphosis will occur that will permeate every fiber of New Crobuzon, and not even the ambassador of hell will challenge the malignant terror it evokes. So, and this is by China Mieville. There's an accent above the E, so I don't know. It was interesting because a few days afterwards, I was reading a thread that someone put on Twitter of all of the fat rep in books, like a bunch of books that had fat rep in them, and someone added this book saying that one of the main characters was a dark skin, so they didn't know if it meant black or not, but it was a dark skinned fat person was the main character. And I was like, okay, I guess this is the universe telling me to go ahead and get this book. And then Audible had a sale for $5 on all of its supernatural science fiction kind of books, and so this one was $5. So it was like, I have to get it. So I have it. I don't know when I'm going to tackle it. It's a big book. It's 700 pages. So we shall see. Now, the last book that I have here on my list is The 100,000 Kingdoms. This was another $5 on sale book that I got. I have tried 2 other N.K. Jemisin books. Now, I love paranormal. I love horror and things like that. But one of the things I've had a hard time getting, I love Fantasy, I wouldn't say love. I like fantasy. It depends. So Game of Thrones is a fantasy that I love. I would say Outlander is a time travel book, but it's very, very light time travel. The time travel is not the center of it. It's just a framing device to get Claire back in Highlands, Scotland, back into 1700s, whatever. But N.K. Jemisin is big on Afrofuturism. And so I tried the 5th season and I couldn't get into it. And then I read N.K. Jemisin's City We Became. Now, I listened to that and it just didn't grab me. And that is more modern, and it just has a high concept where it's the New York City boroughs are personified, and there's someone coming to threaten them and they have to come together. But I couldn't get into it. But she's so popular and I want to support this author. I want to be into these books. I want to enjoy these books. The only future author that I have read has been Octavia Butler. And I read the Exogenesis series and it was odd to me, but for some reason I was in the right mind to read that. And the only other book that I actually enjoyed, because it's not Afrofuture, it's Kindred. So I've read that, I've listened to it, I've listened and read to it. That book, I really enjoyed that one. But it's the most like normal, not normal, what's the right word? I would say mainstream of her books when it comes to paranormal kind of books. So I want to read more. I feel like I'm missing out by not reading N.K. Jemisin. So I thought that it would behoove me to try again with a lot less risk, because this was on sale. Yane Dar is an outcast from the barbarian north. But when her mother dies under mysterious circumstances, she is summoned to the majestic city of Sky. There, to her shock, Yane is named heiress to the king. But the throne of the 100,000 kingdoms is not easily won, and Yane is thrust into a vicious power circle. So I'm really hoping to like this. And a bunch of the people that I follow on BookTube, all different types of readers. So Starla and Onyx Pages, they read these kind of books, and so they gave it 4 and 5 stars. Riley and Chan are Chandler Ainsley, and they're both romance for the most part, and they both still gave it 4 stars. Bookish Realm, she reads wide, obviously, as a librarian and everything like that, and she gave it 5 stars. So, and Rick Riordan, he gave it 5 stars. So I'm hoping to be able to get through this and enjoy it and be able to kind of immerse myself in another fantasy world. I miss that. I love being in Game of Thrones. I love being in the world of Outlander. And I would love to find another world to just kind of immerse myself in and be in for a long time. So if you made to the end of this, let me know what books that you want to read but that are intimidating to you. And if you don't have any books, you don't have anything to say, just leave me the emoji of a leaf in honor of House of Leaves, this big old chunker here. Be easy on yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.